So I belong to a social media family. You guys know it. My wife, my daughter, my oldest son, even my younger son. We have a family podcast. We have so much social media presence that even though I wouldn't call myself as the lead expert in social media, that title will go to my wife and then to my daughter. But I still know a lot through them and having been a part of it. And I wanted to bring to you how a Wall Street professional should deal with social media or can deal with social media to their advantage. Hi, I'm Shalabh Garg, finance dad. I've had jobs on Wall Street for the last 25 years. I've worked at a bank, at a hedge fund, and I currently run my own hedge fund. And in today's episode, as I mentioned, I'd like to cover the role of social media in the career of a Wall Street professional, both from an active and from a passive standpoint. So how can that hurt you and how can it serve you as an advantage? First of all, should you have social media as a Wall Street professional? My point to you is that it's unavoidable. Now, I run a Finance Dad podcast. The reason I can do that is because I run my own hedge fund. So I'm my own boss, and it's easy for me to do this as a side gig where I can offer my services both as a consultant and otherwise in this podcast. If you're working at a big employer, you may not have that ability because the employer will see that as a competing interest, something that you're doing that either counters your employment contract or something that they just explicitly don't let you do. But there are some things as a Wall Street professional that you will be involved with in social media. First and foremost, LinkedIn. You probably either have a resume on LinkedIn, and if you don't, you should. No employer in the world will limit your ability to have a LinkedIn presence. That LinkedIn account, whether you are a young professional or an advanced professional, serves multiple roles. It gives the world a sense of where you are in your career. It's a networking opportunity. The more people you're linked on LinkedIn to, the more they get to see how your career is progressing or has progressed. It gives people a sense of your achievements. Now, there's several pitfalls right there, right? Just assume for a minute just assume that a compliance officer at your firm is going to keep track of your LinkedIn because it's their job. They're asked to make sure that you're not over exaggerating your achievements at the firm. You're not lying about your title at the firm. You're not talking about things or projects that you've never done. You're not giving away secrets of the firm. I mean, if you've worked on an investment banking deal, you can't be putting those names out there. I mean, some of these things are obvious, but if you're a young professional, you may not realize it. It is really, really important to keep things at a bullet point level. So you can talk about generically what you did and did not do, but you cannot go into the specifics of it. As a hedge fund guy, you cannot be talking about how many millions of dollars you made last year. Certainly not without the explicit permission of your employer, and certainly not in direct dollar terms. You can talk about percentages, you can talk about one of many that you were excelling as. I'm not discouraging you from, in fact, quite the opposite. I'm saying you should have a LinkedIn presence. It's the single most powerful networking opportunity you can have as a Wall Street professional to connect with like-minded people like yourself with other employers, to advertise yourself and to advertise your achievements. Now, I don't want to see 10 line items on LinkedIn against you. That's a horrible way to advertise it. Again, like your resume, we covered that in a past episode on what a good resume looks like. It's not that different at LinkedIn. You want to keep 2 or 3 major things that cover the totality of who you are, as opposed to go into the detail of I did this and that and the other. Nobody has the time, nobody cares. But if you just summarize it as promoted to associate within a year, or managing director within 10 years, or a major deal that you won without naming names, those are good enough. The goal is to get people curious and excited about what you have. Now, there is one other feature that LinkedIn has, which is to comment on other people. I would keep those comments as mostly congratulations or best of luck, and not get into the nitty-gritty of debates. I see a lot of people on LinkedIn starting to get into debates around, for example, there's a war going on between Israel and Iran. It's not your place to be discussing the semantics of that war on LinkedIn. That's the worst possible thing you can do. First of all, that written word will stay forever, and you may upset some people. You may express a certain amount of bias that your employer may or may not care about. But remember, even on LinkedIn, even though it's your private account, you are kind of representing the employer that you're currently at. Because by expressing a specific opinion on a subject matter, you're kind of saying that my employer condones that opinion, even though they're not explicitly condoning anything, right? And that may lead to sort of issues with respect to your employer. Why do it? You have your personal relationships and social setups to discuss those items. You have your family to discuss those items with. LinkedIn is not a place you want to put those things on. But you do want to talk about business. You want to talk about achievements. You want to talk about you want to congratulate people. You want to be involved with people. You want to treat it as a community that you're not judging people for, you're not expressing biases towards, and keeping it business and friendly. That's what I would say about LinkedIn. I offer a consulting hour. You have details on the box below you. You're welcome to reach out to me. I know a lot about LinkedIn in particular because I'm a user myself. And if your specific resume you can use my help, I'm happy to offer it. And you can modify and change and manage it in a way that may be specific to your needs. With that said, LinkedIn is not the only social media. As you know, there is Instagram, there is Facebook, there is X, the old Elon Musk application. So there's all kind of other social media that exists that you could also be part of or partake in. Whether you can or cannot, of course, on a professional level, it depends on your employer. Your employer will have a very specific directive on whether or not you can talk about them or your professional capacity, in a professional capacity, use any of those social media. My guess is most employers and hedge funds and banks and so on will not let you do it unless you're very, very senior and owner of the hedge fund. So for example, Ken Griffin or the senior professionals at Apollo, they will often talk about credit and they will talk about equities and they will talk about their views on the market. But then they are spokespersons and owners of those firms. CEO of Goldman Sachs or CEO of Morgan Stanley, more likely than not, they will stay away from it because their words can be misconstrued. Jamie Dimon will often come out as spokesman of JP Morgan and talk about, one thing that he talked about often was working in person at the firm, but he's CEO of the firm. If he's talking about his opinion on how it's important to him for people to work in person, he can get away with it. But if you, as third or fourth in line below him, are talking about how you hate to work in person on behalf of a firm like that, that is going to get you into trouble. So most likely your firms will not allow you to do that, but that's not going to stop you from having a personal Instagram. You most likely have one. It's either private or not, but you most likely share pictures of your family and your friends and comments. Just remember that in today's world, there is no privacy. So if you have an Instagram that's a personal one, you do want to be careful about expressing professional opinions on it and also expressing major biases on it. You don't want to talk about how I just hate what Israel is doing in Palestine, or the opposite way, how I just hate what bombing is going on, and these are things that will go back to your employer. As a human being, it's impossible that you don't have an opinion on these matters. It would be inhuman to not have an opinion on any one of these matters, because you're an involved citizen. You're supposed to and will likely have an opinion on every one of these matters. I'm not saying you should not. I'm just offering the opinion that there is no upside in presenting those opinions publicly on your personal social media. It will only get you into trouble over time. Your friends will judge you, or if not judge you, will have opinions on how you're a specific person and so on and so forth. But more than that, someone or the other will tell your employer that, so-and-so in their personal social media. And you know what? Because it's your personal social media, the employer is not going to say anything to you because they can't stop you, but they will hold it against you. It is just how it is. It is the kind of world that we live in, where social media is no longer a private place for you to express your grievances or your biases or your opinions. I would keep those personal social media very, very limited to your pictures of your family, your kids, your friends, and just a place to have fun, not a place to express extreme opinions. Where can you express those extreme opinions? In person, when you're having dinner with your friends, not your professional friends, but your personal friends. Say what you want, do what you want. Nobody will know, nobody will care. But social media is a written word. It's going to stay there forever. Okay, so far I have covered LinkedIn, how you can use that to your advantage, what to do, what not to do. I've also covered other social media, and mostly what I've told you is to not put anything professional on it. One, because you cannot, and second, if you put any biases up there, they will get back to your employer, which is not going to be in your interest. The last point is, how can you use non-LinkedIn social media to your advantage, even if you can't have your own account? The way you can do it is by commenting and participating in other professionals' opinions. So when you find Jamie Dimon talking about working from work, you can put a constructive comment up there of your own using your personal account. Nobody can stop you from doing that. So I'm saying that it is still a great networking opportunity, just not an opportunity to put your biases and to present biases on. It's an opportunity to then, once you comment on other people's comments on a topic, it makes you part of that community, of that message board, which may then lead to some kind of a professional contact that you otherwise would not have formed. So I still feel, even for a Wall Street professional, social media is an important part to be part of, LinkedIn professionally, elsewhere personally, but then to be using those forums to network. Networking is something that you cannot give up at any stage of your career, whether you're a young professional or an advanced professional. It is an important and exceptionally important thing for you to consistently be doing, and social media you cannot find a forum better than social media to be doing that. Furthermore, there will be social media where there will be advertisements of conferences, advertisements of private equity or hedge fund social events or gatherings. You want to participate in those and then attend some of those. So those are other ways you can use those social media activities for. I'll tell you, for myself, I was very opposed to social media before my wife put me up to it. She obviously is a humongous presence of social media, and I cannot tell you how helpful it has been, both for getting reach to people that can give me assets, to manage assets for them, but also to keep in touch with professionals who are in similar businesses as I am, and I don't have a common forum to interact with them on my own. With that, I hope you found this podcast useful. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me grow my podcast. And with that, Finance Dad signing off. See you next time.